The Dallas Cowboys were founded with a loophole and a threat, not a handshake or a press conference, but by forcing the NFL to either give Texas a team or lose its national television contract. The man behind it, Clint Murchison Jr., never played football. He inherited oil money and spent it buying radio stations and trying to move other people's NFL franchises to Dallas. In 1952, he tried buying the San Francisco 49ers. The 49ers owners refused. A year later, he went after the franchise that would eventually become the Baltimore Colts, then based in Dallas, as a floundering team playing to crowds of 5,000. That fell through too when the franchise folded mid-season. By 1959, Texas had no NFL team, despite being one of the largest football markets in the country. The problem wasn't demand. High school and college football in Texas drew bigger crowds than some professional teams. The problem was George Preston Marshall, owner of the Washington team, who controlled the southern broadcast territory and refused to let another franchise share it. Marshall had veto power in the league and used it to block Dallas twice. Murchison knew he couldn't outbid Marshall or convince the other owners to override him. So he went around him. In 1958, Murchison's lawyer, a man named Bedford Wynn, quietly bought the rights to the Washington team's fight song. Not the team, just the song. Marshall's team had been playing the song at every home game since 1938. It was written into the stadium lease, the broadcast contracts, and the team's identity. Wynn tracked down the composer's widow and bought the copyright for $2,500. Then Murchison sent Marshall a letter. Approve the Dallas franchise, or the song disappears. Marshall tried to fight it, but his lawyers confirmed the copyright was legal and enforceable. On January 28, 1960, the NFL voted to add the Dallas Cowboys as an expansion team. Marshall abstained. The franchise fee was $600,000, the highest ever paid at that time, and Murchison had to staff a team from scratch in under a year while the league's new rival, the American Football League, was also launching a Dallas franchise called the Texans. Both teams played their first season in the Cotton Bowl, scheduling home games on opposite weeks to split the city's attendance. The Cowboys hired Tom Landry, then a 35-year-old assistant coach from the New York Giants, as head coach. Landry had no stars, no depth, and no time to build through the draft. The Cowboys' roster in 1960 was assembled through an expansion draft that gave them the league's unwanted backup players. They lost their first game 35-0. They didn't win a game all season, finishing 0-11 with one tie. Attendance was worse than feared. The Cowboys averaged fewer than 25,000 fans per game, while the Texans were drawing over 30,000. Murchison lost an estimated $1 million in the Cowboys' first year. The Texans, meanwhile, won the American Football League championship in 1962 and looked like the team Dallas would remember. Then the Texans moved to Kansas City. Their owner, Lamar Hunt, couldn't compete with Murchison's money and the NFL's television deals. With the rival team gone, the Cowboys suddenly had Dallas to themselves. Attendance didn't surge immediately. It took 3 more losing seasons before the Cowboys won more games than they lost. But Murchison kept spending. In 1964, the Cowboys drafted a Navy quarterback named Roger Staubach, then let him finish his military service before joining the team 5 years later. By then, Landry had built a system around ball control and a defense that led the league in turnovers. The Cowboys made the playoffs for the first time in 1966. They lost the NFL championship game to the Packers twice in a row, both times in the final minutes. But they were no longer the expansion team that couldn't win. They were the team that couldn't quite finish. In 1971, Staubach became the full-time starter and led the Cowboys to their first Super Bowl victory. The franchise that started with blackmail over a fight song became America's team, the most valuable sports franchise in the world by market value. Murchison sold the team in 1984, a year before his oil empire collapsed. The song rights were eventually returned to Marshall without payment, once the Cowboys were guaranteed their place in the league. No one remembers the song. Everyone remembers the threat.